Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Vasudevaya. Narayana Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiriya Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati. So continuing with our discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 5, The Cause of All Causes, text number 19. So Brahmaji is further answering Narad Muni's questions and glorifying Krishna. कार्य कारण कर्तृत्वे द्रव्य ज्ञान क्रियाश्वे बध्नन्ति नित्यदा मुक्तम माइनम पुरुषम गुणः. These three modes of material nature, being further manifested as matter, knowledge, and activities, put the eternally transcendental living entity under conditions of cause and effect, and make him responsible for such activities. So, cause and effect. Actually, this is one of the themes of Buddhism philosophy. They said this is all about cause and effect. What is cause and effect? Basically, it is action and reaction. So we do something, that is a cause, and the effect is a reaction. It is, and this is karma philosophy. Because internal and external potencies, the eternally transcendental living entities are called the marginal potency of the Lord. Factually, the living entities are not meant to be so conditioned by material energy. But due to their being affected by the false sense of lording it over material energy, they come under the influence of such potency and thus become conditioned by the three modes of material nature. So these three modes, like in the previous verse, Brahmaji was explaining to Narad Muni that the Supreme Lord is pure spiritual form, transcendental to all material qualities. Yet, for the sake of the creation of the material world and its maintenance and annihilation, he accepts through his external energy the material modes of nature called goodness, passion, and ignorance. So, Krishna never comes under these modes. And similarly, we, the souls, living entities, we have an option, we have independence, whether to come under external energy, these three modes, or stay under internal energy. We are part and parcel of Krishna. We are spiritual. So we are not actually meant to be. This is what Prabhupada writing. Actually, the living entities are not meant to be so conditioned by material energy. We are not supposed to be. We are not meant to be. But why we come under? Because we want to lord over. It's a false sense of lording over the material energy. We cannot be the controller of this material energy. It cannot be. There's no way. But we think we are, or we want to be. And that's why Krishna says, okay, go try it. And when you get frustrated, then you will think of coming back. So this is what Prabhupada is saying. Due to their being affected by the false sense of lording it over material energy, they come under the influence of such potency and thus become conditioned by the three modes of material nature. And then we become conditioned. What is the conditioned? Means sometimes, say, the mode of goodness becomes predominant. So actually the living entity, the soul is above these three modes. But then we act under the mode of goodness. Suppose a mode of passion becomes prominent, then we act under the mode of passion. Suppose a mode of ignorance becomes prominent, and that becomes prominent. Why? Because it's our desire. Desire springs from the association. Association comes from our desire to have that kind of association. Of course, It depends on our karmas, it depends upon our consciousness, whatever we have developed. It depends on our pious activity, impious activity. There's so many factors. And they all just, because of all these factors and cause and effect and the three modes of material nature, they just cover over this living entity. They just bind him. Although the living entity is completely free, completely spiritual, it does not at any point of time is under material modes. But because of our desire to be the enjoyer here in the material world, we become covered over by our tendency to enjoy. So the modes of nature, they take over. It's just like an example is given at some place, just like an elephant. Now, just think of elephant as an entity. Elephant is very, very powerful animal, very strong. But you know how they catch an elephant? What they do, they dig a big hole in the ground and cover it up with soft grass, and the top of the ground they make it look like the soil or the grass is there, but its top is covered by the very very thin pieces of branches. So the elephant and they tie a female elephant to a nearby tree, and this female elephant is already trained. So the elephants, they always roam around in a herd, in a group. So now the elephants are roaming around, and one elephant, he sees this female elephant tied to a tree. And he says, okay, let me go, free her up, and I can have nice time with her. And like you have all have Valentine's Day, and he might be thinking, oh, I can have Valentine's Day. This is my Valentine's Day gift. So he tries to go towards that female elephant. All the other elephants tell him, no, 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 don't go. There is no such thing as a single elephant. See, we always roam in a group. So this is a trap. Don't go. But this elephant, he doesn't listen. So he goes towards that female elephant. But once he comes close, he doesn't know there is a big hole in the ground, big pit, and he falls down in the pit. And since it is covered by like very thin branches and the weight of the elephant is so much, it cannot handle and he goes down. He falls in the pit. Now, elephant is the only animal that cannot jump. So he cannot get out on its own. So he cries and cries, and other elephants also run away. And this female elephant is there. And he cries and cries. For 2, 3 days, these people, the hunters, they keep him in the pit, not feeding, without giving him any food. And the elephant likes to eat a lot. He has to eat a lot. And they don't give him any food. So for 2, 3 days, when they don't give him, and he's all weak, and he's all and then they give him food, and then the elephant thinks, unless and until I do what these hunters tell me to do, I will not get any food. And this is how the elephant, female elephant who is already trained, she also communicates to him, and this elephant is captivated. And they bring him, they teach him all kinds of tricks. And if you have seen on top of elephant, there is a very small man, Mahavat. He sits on top of the elephant, and he has a small iron gourd in his hand, and that's how he controls elephant. Elephant is very, very powerful, very strong, but he gets conditioned. He becomes conditioned. He becomes captive by his own desire to enjoy the material world, the food that is given by his hunters. And just to get that food, he does all sorts of activities, whatever he is told. Food and obviously sex with that female elephant. So this elephant is very powerful. He can at any time he can grab this Mahavat and throw him on the ground, kill him, and go run away to the forest, and he can live freely. But the conditioning is so great, so deep, he doesn't do that. So same thing with us. Exactly the same thing. Of course, not thinking like an elephant, but the soul is very, very powerful. It's a part and parcel of Krishna. Krishna is omnipotent. So soul is also very, very powerful. But because we think our conditioning has been such that, oh, if I don't have this job, I will not make money. Who will maintain me? If I don't have the family that I am with, who will take care of me? If I don't do this, if I don't do this business, if I don't make money, who will take care of me? This is all conditioning of mind. This is what Krishna again and again, over and over, tells us in Bhagavad Gita. He is there. He showed his Virat Roop to Arjuna. What was the meaning of Virat Roop? Basically, it was to give us a sense of confidence on him. That whatever he says, if we do, he will take care. Krishna clearly says, Yoga Kshemam Vahamyam. I personally carry what my devotees lack and I preserve what they have. I personally do it. He clearly says, Man manabha mad bhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru. Do it, you will come back to me. Surrender unto me, I'll take care of all your sins. But our conditioning has been such that we don't want to. We don't have that faith in Krishna or Krishna's words. And that's why not just Krishna, though we can think, oh, Krishna is God, he can do whatever he can create whatever he wants to. Then Krishna sends his devotees, his personal associates, like Prabhupada came. Prabhupada, of course, is a personal associate of Krishna, but he lived and he acted just like one of us. Of course, better than us, but he acted like this, like he was old man. You can see in the picture, he got sick also, but he acted just like us to give us a sense of that confidence that if we also serve like Prabhupada, Krishna will take care of us. How Krishna took care of Prabhupada. How Prabhupada, when he came to America at the age of 69, he had only 40 rupees in his hand. Only 40 rupees, which wasn't even worth of expenditure of one day in New York that time. But Krishna gave him everything. Why? Because he was not at all under the material modes of nature. He was not at all conditioned. Same thing with us. And we carry on again and again say that let it go grow gradually. Let the bhakti, the faith, the confidence, or surrender, let it go gradually. But gradually doesn't mean that we should take another 100 lifetimes. Gradually means okay, but we still have to keep on making progress in this lifetime only. But all these scriptures and all his devotees, all his activities, they are basically to convince us that let's have faith in Krishna, let's surrender, let's be more determined, more sincere in our devotion service. Prabhupada further says, this external energy of the Lord covers up the pure knowledge of the living entities eternally existing within. But the covering is so constant that it appears that the conditioned soul is eternally ignorant. Such is the wonderful action of Maya, or external energy manifested as if materially produced. By the covering power of the material energy, the material scientist cannot look beyond the material causes, but factually, behind the material manifestations, there are Adibhuta, Adhyatma, and Adideva actions, which the conditioned soul in the mode of ignorance cannot see. So the scientists say, "Oh, everything is material causes; they are behind all the effects." But actually, they're Adibhut, Adhyatma, and Adidev. So Prabhupada explains that. Adibhut manifestation entails repetition of births and deaths with old age and diseases. So basically, it pertains to the three miseries: Adibhautik, Adidevic, and Adhyatmic miseries. So Adibhut means miseries caused by my own body and mind. And Adhyatma means miseries given to me by higher powers. Oh no, uh, Adhyatma by other living entities. So manifestations, I'm sorry, Adibhautik means miseries given by others. Adhyat means miseries given by my own self. And Adidev is by the higher authorities or demigods. So Adidev manifestation is a controlling system. Adhyatma manifestation conditions the spirit soul, and Adibhut manifestation entails repetitions of birth, death, with old age and disease. So body, soul, and the control nature. These are the material manifestations of cause and effect, and the sense of responsibility of the conditioned actors. They are, after all, manifestations of the conditioned state, and the human being's freedom from such a conditioned state is the highest perfectional attainment. So idea is to get beyond this material conditioning and come to the level of understanding, come to the level of self-realization. Text 20. Saish Bhagwan Linga Stribhirar Atar Adhukshajah Swalakshit Gatir Brahman Sarvesham Mamcha Ishvaraha. O Brahman Narad, the superseer, the transcendent Lord, is beyond the perception of the material senses of the living entities because of the above mentioned three modes of nature. But he is a controller of everyone, including me. So Brahmaji is such a pure devotee, such a pure person. He is telling everything to Narad. So a person, if he becomes very powerful, he generally likes to brag about his powers, his strengths, and he would never admit that somebody is controlling him. But here, Brahmaji, the control, the creator of the whole universe, the secondary creator, he is clearly saying, the Lord is above me, he is controlling even me. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord has declared very clearly that the impersonalist who gives more importance to the transcendental rays of the Lord as Brahmjyoti and who concludes that the absolute truth is ultimately impersonal and only manifests a form at a time of necessity is less intelligent than the personalist. However, much the impersonalist may be engaged in studying the Vedanta. The fact is that such impersonalists are covered by the above mentioned three modes of material nature. Therefore, they are unable to approach the transcendental personality of God. See, Prabhupada is saying even impersonally, even though they are studying the Vedanta, before some verses before, it is clearly said that all the purpose of Vedas, Narayan Para Veda. So, purpose of Vedas is to understand Krishna, to serve him. So, if somebody is studying the Vedanta and not coming to that conclusion, then basically he's not beyond the modes. He's still conditioned. His senses are imperfect. The Lord is not approachable by everyone because he is curtained by his Yogmaya potency. But one should not wrongly conclude that the Lord was formerly unmanifested and has now manifested himself in the human form. This misconception of the formlessness of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is due to the Yog Maya curtain of the Lord and can be removed only by the Supreme Will as soon as the conditioned soul surrenders unto Him. So, so even the impersonalists are, but Prabhupada is saying they are still not beyond the modes of material nature. They haven't gone there because they cannot see, they cannot conceive of the Supreme Lord as person. And this curtain of Yog Maya, which is covering the eyes of, of conditioned souls, can only be removed by the mercy of the Lord. And why would He remove it? And whose curtain He would remove? Those who have surrendered unto Him. The devotees of the Lord, who are transcendental to the above mentioned three modes of material nature, can see the all blissful transcendental form of the Lord with their vision of love in the attitude of pure devotion service. So the devotees can see because Krishna himself removes the curtain, himself removes the conditioning of the devotees. Text 21. Kalam karma swabhavam cha mayeshu mayaya swaya atman yadrichya praptam vibhushu vibhubhu purushadade shurupadade. The Lord, who is a controller of all energies, thus creates by His own potency, eternal time, the fate of all living entities and their particular nature for which they are created, and He again merges them independently. So Brahmaji, in the previous words, he is saying Krishna is the supreme controller and He even controls me. And He controls all the living entities. And here He is saying He's the controller of all energies. And He is controller of, and He creates eternal time and the fate of all living entities. Like generally, we call Brahmaji as Vidhata, or He decides the fates of everybody. But Brahmaji said, no, it's Krishna only. He decides the fate of all living entities and their particular nature for which they are created. Means Krishna has given this power to Brahmaji, who does the creation of fate of all living beings. So Brahmaji is acknowledging that it's actually done by Krishna because it's Krishna's power, Krishna's energy. And he again merges them independently. Means it's Krishna only who takes care of everything through his energies or through his different representatives in the form of demigods, but everything is done by Krishna. The creation of the material world, wherein the conditioned souls are allowed to act subordinately by the Supreme Lord, takes place again and again after being repeatedly annihilated. The material creation is something like a cloud in the unlimited sky. The real sky is a spiritual sky, eternally filled with the rays of the Brahmajyoti. And a portion of this unlimited sky is covered by the Mahatattva cloud of the material creation, in which the conditioned souls who want to lord it against the will of the Lord are put into play as a desire under the control of the Lord by the agency of His external energy. So Mahatattva is a material part of the spiritual world. And in Mahatattva, there are millions and millions of material universes. And we are put in this Mahatattva because we rebelled against the Lord. So we as conditioned souls wanted to lord against the will of the Lord. And we are put into play in this material world as we desire under the control of the Lord by the agency of His external energy. So under His Maya, we are put here. Okay, you play here. You think you're the controller, you try. See here. As the rainy season appears and disappears regularly, the creation takes place and is again annihilated under the control of the Lord, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. So the creation and annihilation of the material worlds is a regular action of the Lord, just to allow the conditioned souls to play as they like and thereby create their own fate of being differently created, again in terms of their independent desires at the time of annihilation. The creation therefore takes place at a historical date, as we are accustomed to think of everything which has a beginning in our tiny experience. The process of creation and annihilation is called anadi, or without reference to date regarding the time the creation first took place, because the duration of even a partial creation is uh, 8 billion 64 640 million years. I mean, this is the one day of Brahma, means 24 hours of Brahmaji. The law of this is the smallest creation and annihilation, because at the end of the day of Brahmaji, everything up to Svargloka is destroyed, and in the morning again he has to come back and do the creation. So the law of creation is, however, as mentioned in Vedic literature, that it is created at certain intervals and is again annihilated by the will of the Lord. The whole material or even the spiritual creation is a manifestation of the energy of the Lord, just as the light and heat of a fire are different manifestations of the fire's energy. So Prabhupada writes further, and then towards the end he says, the whole creation thus merges within the body of transcendental Narayan at the time of annihilation. And the creation emanates from its body again with the same unchanging categories of fate and individual nature. The individual living entities, being parts and parcels of the Lord, are sometimes described as Atma, qualitatively one in the spiritual constitution. But because such living entities are apt to be attracted to the material creation, actively and subjectively, they are therefore different from the Lord. So we are one in the sense that we are also spiritual beings, but we are different because we get attracted by material creation. Krishna never gets attracted. And we are very small, we are very tiny, we are infinitesimal. Krishna is infinite. He is Vibhu, we are Anu. So we have a whole lot of differences, but we come under this material modes of nature because of our desire, thinking that we can lord over, we can control this material nature. All we have to do is to get out by understanding our position as very tiny specks of energy of Krishna. And our only job is to serve Krishna. Serve Krishna means serving his devotees, serving him, serving his energies, even material energy. If we understand this is part of Krishna, this is energy of Krishna, and she is doing her service to Krishna by keeping all the conditioned souls here. If we just serve it, understanding with the right understanding that it's energy of Krishna and it should be utilized in the service of Krishna, then the same material world becomes a spiritual world for a devotee, because he's always seeing everything in relationship with Krishna. So idea is not to become or not even think of becoming controller, proprietor, enjoyer. Idea is to become a servant of Krishna. Servant of Krishna, Krishna's devotees, Krishna's energy, Krishna's creation. That's all. Not thinking that I am the controller, I'm the servant. That's all. I'm just going to use everything in service of Krishna. And that's when we change our consciousness, and then everything becomes spiritualized. It's simple as that. So anyway, I'll stop here. See anybody have any questions or comments? So I guess no questions, so we can stop here. You all have a wonderful day. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Prabhupada.